なアルトマイクみたいになりたい。でも電話してくれない。オークランドとブックレンドから世界チャンピオンバーチャルプローズ始まるよ。バーチャルプローズ。
To my motherfucking man, 50 grand, the alcoholic man, inject a tall can in his bloodstream if he can. Biggie Smalls, the stroker, MC provoker, chocolate tie smoker, huh? I like to max and Maximas and Acuras. Your girl butt cheeks, I'm smacking, huh? The raw rapper, spine snapper, with the little, cause all my lap a shot, the ball, I ain't your fucking comforter. And if I ever fall in love, I bet I'm fucking up. Ask the if I didn't choke her.
Episode 66 of That World Champion Sound, Virtual Bros Podcast. My name is Al, a.k.a. Henny Omega, a.k.a. The Bandman, a.k.a. Bougie Nagata, a.k.a. Two Phone Scorpio, a.k.a. Super Brazy, a.k.a. Noam Bars, a.k.a. No Speak Broke Boy. Call me Shinsuke Stack 'em Mill Up. And with me, one half of the Holy Scheming Army, one half of Blemolition, one half of the Heavenly Thotties, one half of the Bread Hunters, my main oos, Mike.
Hey, what's up, motherfuckers? It's Mike, a.k.a. Wavy Boy Smith, a.k.a. Tiger Skeet Singh, a.k.a. Crack Saber Jr., a.k.a. Nick Glockwinkle.
Today's topic, Super Shame Cup, the third stage. Listen to the pros crown a new shameful champion for 2018. Hit us on Twitter and Instagram at VRTLBROS. Hit us on SoundCloud. Hit that heart. You know I like it. Hit us on iTunes. Leave a review and subscribe if you haven't already. And if you want to participate, email us at virtualpros64@gmail.com. We got a grip of emails, Mike. You mind starting off with the first one?
First off, I just moved. If you guys don't know, I live in Chicago now, and the movers still haven't brought any of my stuff yet. So I have literally no furniture. So I'm recording in the kitchen, which is not optimal, but there's still like a lot of sounds going on because I have all these huge rooms with nothing in them. So there's just cavernous echoes throughout my whole apartment. So sorry if this sounds a little shitty, but can't do anything about it. Second off, some jokesters put a bunch of fucking emails in, all asking the same question, thinking they're cute. So, I don't know if we really have to go through all those one by one or what they wanted, but basically a bunch of people, Matthew, Brian, Joe, Logan, that's it. I think that's it. They all wrote in, asking about wrestling vanity plates. Real cute joke. I'm not going to read any of these emails. I'm not even going to answer this question. I don't care about wrestler vanity plates. Al, do you have anything to comment about any of these emails?
It was weird because my phone went off. Like, it was like the same day. Like, and within the span of like 30 minutes, we got like 4 emails about like license plates. And I was like, what the fuck is going on? Like, do you know these people personally? And do you know like what this inside joke is all about? I'd love to know.
I don't think I know any of these people personally, so.
Oh man. I did like the one where the guy was like, work rate would be pretty embarrassing. I think I'd still drive a nice car if it said work rate on the butt, but yeah. I feel like I got pranked. I feel harassed.
So I'm just going to skip to the second email, or the second actual email. Also, my dishwasher's going right now, guys. That sound maybe will stop in the future of this episode. Who knows? This email's from B Brian. His name is Brian, actually. The thing is, what up? It says, hey, Virtual Bros. I was watching the last takeover and thought it was hilarious that Moro said EC3 is in the top 1% because his family owns a string of restaurants. Nobody is in the top 1% because their family owns a fucking string of restaurants. What are some of your favorite wrestler backstories? There's got to be a ton of low-key funny ones that I just can't think of at the moment. Anyways, keep up the good work. A friend turned me onto your podcast not too long ago, and now I'm a fan. From listener Brian, a.k.a. Mankind Bud, a.k.a. Moby Doink, a.k.a. Dude Nug. I've mentioned this one a lot in recent times and on the show and on Twitter. And it's Sarah Logan, because during the Mae Young Tournament Cup thing that they were doing, they are all pretty, like, Jim Ross had like pretty serious shoot facts about all the competitors. Like, they were all like pretty legit facts about them. And then, like, all of a sudden for Sarah Logan, he busts out, she's never been on a plane before. And I was just like, man, that's weird. That's weird as hell. This is the first time she's on a plane. So I actually believed it. And then, a bunch of people were like, no, you fucking idiot. She was like an established wrestler before this. She's obviously been on a plane before. But it's just been like added to that. And it's like this low key backstory that it's not really leading anywhere. It's like they don't have like vignettes of her in the fucking countryside hunting for shit and stuff like that. She just talks about it every once in a while and they like make mention of it. So I really like that. I'm really into that backstory. As far as a bad backstory, the original backstory of Harlem Heat was that Colonel Rob Parker won them in a card game, and they had to get rid of that backstory because it was a bad one. But
Doinks is weird, right? Like, wasn't he just like some disgruntled clown that like thought it'd be like a good idea to professionally wrestle?
Yeah.
After a while, he was just like mad at his day job. I don't know. I always thought that was a bit peculiar. Next up is from Andrew, titled Bay Area Questions. This is for me. Hello, friends. Al, why do you think the Bay doesn't have some sick indie fed? There is a strong history with Ray Stevens and Pat Patterson. Plus, the Samoan dudes have a strong tie to the area, I think. BTW and APW both suck and don't count. New Japan obviously thinks it's a good enough market, so in my opinion, there should be something like PWG or GCW here. Also, what are your favorite Bay Area anthems? Thanks, guys. I thought it was kind of weird that a podcast had t-shirts, but I love my Sasuke shirt. Andrew, a.k.a. Moonrock Spot, a.k.a. Captain Loud Albano, a.k.a. Keith Hernandez, a.k.a. Dangerous Zanny Davis. Andrew then follows up by saying that he confused Keith Hernandez with Manny Fernandez. So I'm going to read that, Andrew. I'm going to shame you for that. We're leaving that in. Actually, he said Scott Keith. I'll let both slide. I don't know why, like the Bay Area. I mean, APW is not bad. I don't think it's great, but I don't think it sucks. BTW kind of sucks. Like it's out in, where is that? Anyway, it's like it's kind of in the sticks. I think I saw a Funaki wrestle there once. Who else did I see? I think Bailey used to wrestle there. That used to be her home promotion, but I'm not sure why. Hood Slam kind of has a following in the Bay, but why we don't have like a very strong Bay Area wrestling federation, not sure. I think it's kind of expensive to travel or to buy tickets for people like to fly out to California. That might be one of the reasons why, but I don't have a solid answer for this.
Oh, I don't have any to add. I think it's weird too, but I don't live there, so I have no idea. I just, I don't know. I mean, I guess there's a good amount of West Coast based wrestlers who've made it, but yeah, it's just, I don't know. I just always assumed it's because it's fucking, you gotta drive everywhere. That's a pain in the ass, but who knows?
Hey, Mike, do you have any Bay Area anthems that you are fond of?
Nothing I could think of. I mean, I got 5 on it.
Yeah. Besides that, can't think of one.
We actually don't have many emails. The next one is a Magic City Road Report, and this is very long. This is from Daniel.
Before you start it, Andrew, I think 11-5 Garcia Vega is an incredible anthem, and Tell Me When to Go, but the Trackademics remix. Those are my two favorites.
It's not quite
It's
not quite an anthem, but that song that Rappin' Forte has about his uncle touching him is pretty good.
That's not cool, Mike.
I didn't fucking write the song. Fucking tell Rappin' Forte it's not cool. Isn't that guy like a notorious scumbag now?
Yeah, I think he is.
Well, there you go. Okay, this is a long fucking email. So this is Magic City Road Report. I promised Al I'd send him this, and enough time has passed where I have to recall it like a fond memory. One Magic City in Atlanta, Georgia. First of all, Magic City is tiny. All the grandeur that is spoken of in the music that name drops it does not prepare you for what is a relatively small big thing, like a converted warehouse that cars would park in. One of those is right next to it. I'll get to that. Second of all, Magic City was not people's first recommendation when it came to Atlanta strip clubs. My girlfriend and I spoke to a couple of Uber drivers about strip club recommendations, at which point they came to life. Magic is where you go if you want a show, but if you really want the Atlanta club experience, it's either Follies or Onyx. two names that are what locals go to. We hit up Onyx and it sucked, but their drink deals were amazing. Still can't get over the Americans and their drink deals. It's really weird because I watched a while ago. I don't think I get too off on a tangent, but we only have one more email. I watched this TV show on Hulu called like British Bouncers or something. And it was just about the lives of British bouncers. Yeah. And it seemed all of their bars, all they had was drink deals, like buy one, get 4 free. So I don't know. Maybe that's just the touristy part. So a little buzz and we're off to Magic City. Some things that people don't mention about Magic City. It's a warehouse size. It's across the road from the Greyhound station, which seems a bit on the nose in regard to bleakness. Parking in their teeny tiny lot costs $100, which seems ridiculous. Yeah. Well, 100 pounds is even more than dollars. So hopefully just, people pay top dollar for their billboard right outside MC, which is Magic City, which is how I can never forget some anonymous mixtape rapper having a song called Woo Like Ric Flair that I will never listen to willingly. It's surrounded by crackheads. You have to pay $50 to get in this tiny warehouse. So that brings us to walking through the turnstile. I haven't seen one of those outside of a swimming pool for decades. Into stripper Cirque du Soleil. Strip du Soleil, there's one stage. The VIP are sat higher up, but otherwise there's no seating space, and everyone is sardined in together watching these women. My girl and I find a little nook by the bar, and then I just observe. Like these women are by and large stunning. Like, good God, I get it how rappers lose their mind and shout out certain rappers and say they're in love. The fantasy is pretty believable, but they're also doing some wild shit. One woman climbed up a pole using only her legs and did the splits in midair. Then one girl balanced off another girl suspended upside down. I have no idea how nobody was screaming about how mad this all was. Behind them, there was a screen that was playing Cardi B's Coachella performance, which a bunch of these women also performed at. A bit like if I was a wrestler and a screen played highlights of my matches behind me. I get you're proud, but come on, guys. What do they play when it's not that? Sports? Are people like, move out of the way to some of these strippers because it's the fourth quarter? There's also bottle waitresses or star tenders or whatever they're ridiculous too. I decided there and then that I will never, not now, not ever go to a strip club in England. The money throwing, the reason why nobody's screaming at the top of their lungs is because the money does all of the noise for them. Seeing it rain in real life is surreal. I guess I just don't carry money around like that. They get the ones from a prison-like door to the side and come, and then the sound. Money makes a sound because some dudes are throwing so much in one go that it flies directly up in the ceiling like gravity ceased to exist, then floats back down. Over and over, I'd somehow hear whump over the music, whump, whump. Then a chain reaction happens, whump from another section of the VIP, whump from the first spot, whump, whump. Ones are all around me, and strippers finish dancing, then get bin bags and squat down to pick these soiled bills up. Everyone makes space for them like it's a social cue that I just learned the minute we walked in. Some people scrape over some money from their side. Whump. Meanwhile, girls start twerking to Meek Mill Dreams and Nightmares, the unsexiest song maybe ever made. To be fair, every song is the unsexiest song ever, and I don't even care that the DJ doesn't really know how to mix and tell at the same time. 2 Chainz walks in, and everyone is too intoxicated with the drink and the strippers and the Magic City-ness of it all. A woman walks past wearing only fishnets and stands in front of the guy next to me for like an hour. Another naked woman smokes shisha and chats with a woman from the VIP section. Lil Yachty walks past us in a thick hoodie, ignoring the air conditioning. Something the women on stage don't really get to protect themselves from. Somehow I've drank 3 shots, a rum and a Coke, and a Heineken. In the men's bathroom, the toilet attendant blasts music louder than in the main room and tries to sell his mixtape. The girls are amazing. Chainz and Yachty are on stage, and they look decidedly nonplussed about all the ass in their face. My girl disappears, comes back with ones. I get a lap dance from this crazy, crazy hot girl while my girlfriend hands me money to throw on her. I am reminded that this is the best girlfriend ever. Afterwards, I am overwhelmed by the magic city-ness of it all and drunkenly call it a night. We walk outside and my girlfriend walks up to 2 Chainz without security, only one other person in his entourage, and tells him to stop playing and do a show in London. He laughs and says sure. I drunkenly tell him his show about him looking at the world's priciest dogs and weed and steaks is great. He appreciates and then I keep moving. I don't tell him how much I love his verse from the Drink in My Cup remix and keep it moving. We get home and I drunkenly devour a leftover seafood omelet from a Korean spot in the sticks of Atlanta. Man, I would never eat leftover seafood anything, man. That's pretty risky. Magic City is a pretty interesting place to go to all the time. a pretty interesting place to go to all the time. I was in New Orleans. The joke was that people called it adult Disneyland, and they're not wrong about that. But Magic City, that's Disneyland for real. As expensive, bewildering, and in the end, totally immersive and amazing. It's the Magic Kingdom. And it was the second time in a strip club. It was my second time in the strip club, so it's all downhill from here.
Daniel, thank you so much for the road report, the work rate report for Magic City. It's a place I've been meaning to go to for a while. I've never been to Atlanta. Have you, Mike?
No, I know ex-co-host Sawyer from Kissing Contest lives there sort of now, but I still never went. Actually, no, I'm lying. I've been to Atlanta before, but it wasn't like a fun time. Like I was there. I didn't really do much, but yeah, I do know. I've seen like video of Magic City before, and I've heard how to buy cocaine from one of those other places that was mentioned. Like they have like a system of buying cocaine there. So I know that, but yeah, I've never been to any of these strip clubs. I've only been to 4 strip clubs in my life, so
that's good. That's a good number, man. You should keep it that way. The last email of the night is from Jeffrey, titled Gladiator School. What's your opinion on the WrestleSplania podcast? I back it. They get a little linguistic for my taste sometimes, but they quickly got to covering Joshi, and I was happy to hear that. It's been a long time since the first episode of Virtual Pros, but if I am not mistaken, it was about Mike Awesome, aka the Gladiator. I love Mike Awesome. I will get fired up if you put up a Mike Awesome match on the mixtape. It seems like a lot more of his shit is on YouTube since last time his cousin's name came up. Much love from Max in Columbus, aka can you send me the MP3 of the Ghost Town DJs into Shody Swing My Way mix? The weather is getting right for it. I think the only episode in full I've listened to from WrestleSplania is the Joshi episode you're talking about, and I liked it. I think the format of like explain this to me like is a little bit overdone, but they do it in a way. I mean, the topic like was interesting to me because I like Joshi wrestling. So it was cool to hear like insight from like new eyes on Joshi. But I think it's a pretty good podcast. Also, I think like the second most popular question we get is what that song title is called. It's Rochelle Jordan off the King A mixtape. It's just called Shody. Check it out.
Like I said last episode, Rachel from WrestleSplania is kind of an old friend, I guess. We're not like fucking friends. We don't hang out or anything, but we know each other. I'm not really into that format of just explain this to me. Well, not for wrestling because I'm fucking neck deep into wrestling, so I don't need explanation. I do listen to another podcast called History of Fun that kind of like explains like just random shit like that. But they recently did a wrestling episode too, and it was horrible. It was like cringy to listen to. But yeah, like I like that it'll probably bring us more T-shirt sales in the future because they definitely get like an audience of people who are like, haha, wrestling, like, you know, that type of audience, and soon they'll become.
Oh no,
what? I'm serious. I mean, I'm sure they get hardcore wrestling nerds too, but I bet they get casual people, like a bunch of casual people. So yeah, it's good because we'll probably get more T-shirt sales from it.
Okay. Next up, I think that was it, right? With emails.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. 2-man scramble time. I have an apology to issue to listener Jagger regarding last episode. Apparently, Asuka is married, and she does have a child. That's all I'll say about that. I'm sorry.
Yeah, somebody else informed me too, but I still don't believe it. I refuse to believe it.
Next up, recently Drake was spotted wearing the yellow Razor Ramon oozing machismo t-shirt. As a result, the secondary market for this t-shirt has skyrocketed and is now selling at close to like $550 brand new. Is there an existing t-shirt out there that you predict will be next when it comes to breaking the $200 mark?
I don't know. It just depends on what rapper wears it, really. I'm really pissed because I found out after the fact, speaking of Drake wearing this shirt and West Side Gun calling him out, I didn't know West Side Gun put that Chris Benoit painting on a hoodie, but it like by the time I found out about it, it already sold out, so I couldn't get a hold of that. But yeah, that Razor Ramon shirt already went for a lot of money, so I guess it's cool that Drake was like I want to pose hard. So what is the most expensive wrestling shirt? And he picked that one, because he could have just wore like a DX shirt. But good for him for digging real deep.
Yeah, that has become like the polo sport, like Snow Beach, like tee when it comes to collectors. If I had to guess, it's kind of tough. I don't think any ECW tee will ever go for like more than $200. Maybe Blood from a Stone. It's a very edgy t-shirt. Has that blood drippy font that like rappers like using, or maybe used to like using. And it's Stone Cold in the back, just all fucking leaked up. It's real gross. As a follow-up, it's been a couple weeks now. What's the better song? God's Plan or Nice for What?
God's Plan was the first one, right? There was that 2-song one that he released, right?
Yes, on was it called Scary Hours? I don't know. Yeah, I think it was that little mixtape.
I'm not gonna lie, I was a pose dog in like that other song that everybody forgot about already, more than God's Plan when that came out. I think Nice for What's better.
I think Nice for What's better too. I think when God's Plan came out, the video came out as well, and I was like, this is a very sweet video. It kind of touched me in the heartstrings, but I got kind of tired of it pretty fast. But Nice for What, and that soul sample, like any sped up sample, like I think by default starts off at like a B- for me. But I really like that song a lot, and I think it's better than God's Plan. A lot more replay value in my head. Sticking with wrestling merchandise, do you have an issue with the latest Ember Moon tee?
I mean, I think like the whole internet got to comment on it before I got a chance to. I think that front image looks like the pause screen to like a Resident Evil game or something. It has like that same font. It just looks like the loading screen to like, I don't know, like a Capcom game or even like a Square Enix game or something like that. I don't think it's necessarily horrible, but I also don't think it's anything anybody would want to buy. And I give them credit for making a shirt that people with both bad and good taste hate, because it's really hard to like get like the both sides hating. Like even the people who buy the worst WWE wrestling shirts even hate that shirt. So it's a pretty amazing feat to just bury somebody by giving them the worst shirt ever.
I don't really feel like strongly about it either way. It kind of looks like a coffee ring on a table, like on the front. And I was like, that's cool. I get it's the moon, but like, I don't think it's like the worst shirt they've ever put out. It's not the best, obviously, but a lot of people were like enraged that this was her first t-shirt, I guess, on the main roster. And I just didn't see the outrage either way. It's not a great shirt. It's not a bad shirt. It's just a WWE shirt. It's whatever.
Yeah, I'm the same way, but I just don't like, it's so in the middle that no one likes it. And that's even worse than just being like completely tasteless or completely tasteful. They just like hit that perfect area of no one wanting it.
Last up, Mike, as a newly minted Chicago resident, is there any matchup that would lure you into paying aftermarket prices for an all-in ticket?
Oh, I'm going to get an all-in in my two-man scramble. I have a very brief two-man scramble, but no. I think, I mean, like, honestly, I know it's not going to happen, but if it was Okada versus Joey Janela, I would probably, like, think pretty hard about it, because I don't think Joey Janela will get another chance to face Okada and vice versa. And, yeah. I mean, maybe, 5 years in the future or something like that. Like, who knows what? You can never say never in wrestling, but as far as, like, in recent times, like, I don't think that's going to happen. But I mean, maybe they'll do it. If they did that, I would look at like day of aftermarket prices to see if I could sneak in, because but I have a feeling it's just going to be a very basic fucking wrestling card, and it's not going to be anything anybody's going to be like, oh shit. So yeah,
that was my dream match too. Like, if they did that, I would think long and hard about visiting you. Even though Fat Rice discontinued the pork chop, that really has taken a lot of the luster of Chicago for me. But yeah, I think Janela Okada may have done it, but I don't think they'll do it.
Let's get
at this point, though. Go ahead.
Speaking of you visiting, let's get a little quick virtual bros chat then. There's a fucking, my girlfriend was just telling me, I already forgot the name of the place, but there's some Mexican place but like high-end Mexican place that just opened near me. She told me the chef is blah, 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 and he has blah, 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 and blah, blah, blah. He's some fucking great chef or whatever. But anyways, he has a dish on his menu. How off-putting does this sound to you, Al? It is tongue, like beef tongue, with peanut butter.
Yeah. Lengua tacos are like godly as is with peanut butter. It's not like Jif or like
No,
it's not that or Skippy, right? Like I'm imagining the peanut sauce.
Yeah, I saw pictures. It's like a peanut sauce drizzled over the top of like little chunks of tongue, basically. Like it's nicely plated.
I would kill that plate, of course. Yeah, are you grossed out by lengua, dude? You can't handle it?
Oh no, I'm fine with eating tongue. I just like I can't like just adding peanut butter to it. I just don't see any benefit to that at all. It's kind of like fish and cheese to me, but I don't know. I mean, I would try it for sure. Like I'll probably go to that restaurant just because I'm so curious about it, but I don't expect it to be amazing. But maybe it is. Fuck, why would else do they put it on the menu?
I don't. Yeah, they're both kind of savory like tastes. Like I would think like you would mix like Lango with like something acidic, just so you can cut out like the real fattiness of it. I would try it, but I mean, peanut butter is a little weird. I don't think it's off-putting. I would try it, but yeah.
Okay, so my 2-man scramble. I've been moving around all week. I don't have any fucking furniture, so I don't have a lot of time to put into this. But first thing, my 2 topics are pretty hardcore. Fucking, we're gonna talk about this business chat right now, so we're gonna get into it. Right. So as you guys know already, if you're listening to this podcast, the All In show in Chicago sold out within a half an hour. I actually was around when the tickets went on sale, and I clicked on the thing, and I got like the waiting list thing, and I waited like 5 minutes, and I was like, I have better things to do, and I like went away. I came back like 10 minutes later. I did it again, and I got the waiting list thing again. I went away. I tried to like, I don't know, like a little before they announced it was sold out. I tried it again, and it was like, I got in, and then it was like, none of these seats are available. And I was like, this has to be wrong. Like, there's no way this sold out. And then like shortly after they announced it sold out. And to be real, I completely believed it. I was like, it sold out. Welf, on the other hand, was like, no, it didn't sell out. I can't state facts right now, but he showed me this article about there's some weird fucking shady ticket thing in Chicago where you can basically just buy all the tickets and sell them on the secondary market, and it's completely legal. It's some weird mobbed up Chicago rule, basically. And I was like, shut up, man. They just fucking sold it out. It was just this crazy thing. But then, like, you know, I was seeing all these people online that were like, I couldn't even get tickets. So there was like more people talking about not getting tickets than getting tickets. And I was like, that's kind of strange, because like, why else? Like, you can't tell me this would have sold out if it was 20,000 people. So like, how are all these people saying they didn't get tickets? I would assume everybody who wanted them got the tickets. But that didn't seem to be the case. So then I started getting a little curious. And then all these fucking nerds came out, and they're like, there's only 200 tickets on StubHub. It's not the secondary market. They sold out. But I do think something's up a little. I think they like blocked off like 2,000 seats or something for like these giveaways and all this other bullshit they're doing. Like that StarCast thing they're doing, which is another fucking scam. They're like, they blocked off a bunch of seats for that you get like free tickets when you sign up to put your podcast on StarCast. There's a bunch of tickets that are tied into when you buy a suite from the hotel, blah, blah, blah. So I think a lot of those tickets are like that. But I will say I'm very into this conspiracy theory that they didn't really sell 10,000 tickets. Not enough to become an attendance truther, but I'm very curious about it. Al, do you feel the same way? Do you think this is a legit sellout? Do you think there's some little like backhanded stuff going on? What do you think?
Who cares, Mike? What are you doing?
I really care. I'm very curious. I want to know. I want to know if this is legit. Dude, selling 10,000 tickets in a half an hour, that's fucking insane. That is an insane number to sell.
I might have a story to tell, and it's not that interesting, but this could back up your conspiracy theory. Those NXT tickets, when they hit for Dallas, the Dallas show, I had to buy those resale, and it seemed like a lot of people had to do that too, because when I got my tickets in the mail, they were from a ticket broker. Now, there are articles about like Ticketmaster and like ticket brokers working hand in hand to make sure they get some of that like secondary market money. I believe it. No question. So I don't want to have a strong stance about whether or not it was a legit 10K sellout, because it just goes against the virtual pros like ethos maybe. But I wouldn't be surprised if it was revealed that like some ticket broker in Chicago did buy up all these tickets, and it wasn't because of like 10,000 people supporting the show. I actually do know one person that got through, but they flipped them.
Well, that's good. I would hope so. Yeah. Like deep down, I don't really give a shit. I mean, like, I would have went if there's tickets hanging around, but now that there's not, like, I don't care. I'm not gonna cry over it. But yeah, it's just like, it's pretty crazy. It's pretty weird because New Japan didn't sell out. Well, this is like they're also their third time, so I understand that.
Yeah,
but it's still kind of crazy.
It's not as novel anymore, and I think like 8,000 might have been pretty lofty.
Yeah.
I think that's how many people like the Cow Palace seats. But yeah, I don't know.
Oh, well, my second stupid in this business two-man scramble topic is recently Raw re-signed with NBC USA, and so they're going to be on USA for another 5 years, which means that is another 5 years of Raw being 3 hours. And Fox, it's like all the articles say Fox picked up SmackDown and that it's going to be on Fox, but I don't know. Like, I feel like it might be on FS1 and not really Fox because SmackDown gets 3 million viewers, which is like chump change when you're a network, but I don't know. But either way, Raw is the flagship show, and that is now destined to suck for another 5 years because it's three hours long, and ever since they went 3 hours, all the shows suck. So, do you think this is it for? Do you think WWE is going down with the ship, Al? Do you think this is like New Japan and All In's time to take over and wrestling, like WWE, will finally be toppled by all these independents?
Mike, is this like an April Fool's joke, dude? What are you doing?
I don't know. I think this is the time. I think this is the time that that like people are like, man, Raw sucks. It's 3 hours long, and they stop watching it. Dude, Owen sold 10,000 tickets, man. What the fuck?
Are you being held at gunpoint, dude? Like by PWTs? What are you doing?
I told you. I know. I've been busy this week, and I haven't had much to think about.
It's totally fine. Well, first off, SmackDown's going to be on Big Boy Fox, not FS1. I think that's confirmed.
That's so weird. I don't. That means
secondly,
that means they could straight up just be like, this sucks. We're gonna cancel you. So that would be really strange if like SmackDown got canceled. That'd be fucking crazy.
Well, I don't think they have any incentive to like improve story writing or like their roster or anything, because I think from what I heard listening to live audio, they were saying that deal's guaranteed. I mean, Fox bought the product as is. Oh my God, Mike, this is the last episode we're going to record.
No, I'm going out with a bang. Wait till we get to the mixtape segment. I get to ask all my creepy women questions.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, I heard the contract was guaranteed. So, I mean, I don't think... Well, it's weird that they're having wrestling on Friday nights. Like, as someone who took a TV studies course in his college days, I'm aware that Friday nights and Saturday nights for TV is kind of like the dead zone. And that's where they kind of like leave all the shitty programming to die, I suppose.
Yeah. No one's watching SmackDown. That's guaranteed. No one's watching that.
Especially on Friday night, man. Come on.
Okay, sorry for bringing the show down with horrible actual wrestling talk. It was just very, very curious topics for me this week. But that's it.
We usually talk about like Hayabusa's pants, man. We talk about Super Delphin. You're talking about ticket sales and Raw in 5 years. That's fine.
Yeah,
that's cool. I think people like it, actually. We got to enter ourselves in this tournament actually right now. Today's topic, Super Shame Cup, the third stage. Listen to the pros crown a new shameful champion for 2018. Please stay tuned.
Academic. Tell me when to go. 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 Jesus Christ had dreads, so shake 'em. I ain't got none, but I'm planning on growing some. Imagine all the Hebrews going down, dancing on top of chariots and turning tight ones. Ooh, tell me when to go. Talking on my Getro on my way to the stop. My second or third trip. Some Henny, some Swishers, and some Listerine strips. Dr. Green Thumb lips just to ease my thoughts. Not just the cops, but the homies you gotta watch. The moon is full, look at the dark cloud. Sitting in my scraper watching Oakland going wild.
Okay, we're back here on VRTL Pros, episode 66, and this is the third annual Super Shame Cup, Super Shame Crown, whatever you want to call it. If you are new to this show, thank you for listening. But every year we held this bullshit fake tournament where we put 16 of the most shameful subgenres of a wrestling fan against each other and decide which is the most shameful. Last year, airport stalkers won, and the year before, used gear buyers won. So I have a feeling it's going to be a repeat for one of these, but basically me and Al go back and forth and we vote on them. It's a bracket tournament. You can probably find the bracket somewhere on our Twitter at VRTLBROS. This year, I had the audience, the Twitter audience, act as the deciding vote for the first round matches because there's some times where me and Al are split and we have no way to really untie it. So this time I had the Twitterverse, as you would call them, the Vert bags, decide on these matches. So if we could use their opinion as an untying vote. And also there were a couple of flops on these. There's like a couple ones that I don't think were explained well enough, so people just voted against them, even though they're highly more shameful. So especially the last matchup. Basically, we're gonna go down this whole list. So starting off, we are gonna talk about each or explain each category, and then we're gonna vote on them. So the first matchup is basically the number 1 seed, the returning champion Airport Stalkers versus the play-in vote. Wrestler Vanity Searchers. This is the first time an actual wrestler category was picked instead of a fan category. And I will say the play-in game was against custom tapes buyers. And the only reason Wrestler Vanity Searchers won is because no one knew what a custom tape was, which is good because that means it's not that shameful because no one knows what it is. But I'm very shocked by how many people didn't know what custom tapes buyers are. Because we talked about it on the show for one, so that means they don't listen. So that's cool. But anyways, Airport Stalker is pretty self-explanatory. If you guys don't know, if you are a casual wrestling fan and you're listening to this, basically, there's a subsect of fans that don't mind tracking down a wrestler's flight information and just hanging out at the airport waiting for them to show up to get free pictures and autographs from them. I mean, this happens in other fandoms too, but it's very big in wrestling for some reason, and the people who do it feel like they have the right to do this and that it's not stalking, but it absolutely is. And wrestler vanity searchers are basically wrestlers who vanity search their names to either call somebody out for talking shit about them or just so they can stroke their own ego or whatever the fuck they want to do by vanity searching themselves. I think it's a weird practice. At the same time, I think if you're going to talk shit about anybody on the internet, you should be prepared to have to back that up, even if you didn't plan on them seeing it because you're still publicly saying it. So you wanted somebody to see it. So I don't think vanity searching yourself is that bad. I do think it's kind of like, I don't know, it's kind of cringy when they like reply to everybody who does it because it's, I don't know, dude, just like calm down, man. Either way, I don't think it's that bad. It's easy win for airport stalkers for me because there's very little worse and shameful in the world than stalking another human being. What do you think, Al?
This is definitely like a 1 versus 16 matchup. I didn't think about wrestlers like vanity searching to stroke their own ego. I kind of thought of it as like, what did people think of this match? I worked really hard. So I can see it from that standpoint. It's kind of like free, like market feedback. But yeah, there's no reason why you should be looking at people's flight information in order to like put your arm around them and take photos, of your favorite ring superstars. It's super weird. Airport stalkers in a wash here. Do you want to alternate?
Sure. Just to make sure, I'm going straight down. So the next would be the thirst responders.
Yeah, perfect. Okay. Next up is thirst responders versus male gatekeepers. To me, this could have been the finals, but that's the way these random like matchups go. Thirst responders. How do we define this, Mike? The way I understood it is, say, Kairi Sane took a picture of herself in a bikini, and Superfan A would be like, "Marry me, waifu, you look beautiful." Or like, it could just be like anything where like they could be posting like a picture of their salad, and maybe Kairi Sane was getting off an injury, and Superfan A would be like, "I hope you get better. I heard bananas are good for these types of injuries," or something really weird like that.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
How did you?
I mean, okay. I think both scenarios cover it, but I think the second scenario is the worst, where it gets kind of creepy because like, I don't feel the need to comment on my friend's shit. So like when you're just fucking being that thirsty, where you're like, I got to comment so they'll notice me. It's like, I don't know, man. Get some real friends.
Male gatekeepers, pretty obvious. These are fans that will approach women at wrestling shows and ask what Matt Sydal's record is if they're wearing a Matt Sydal t-shirt. Essentially, they just want to keep this fandom to themselves, unfortunately.
To the men.
To the men only. This one's tough. They're both like behaviors that you should never ever do. I gotta go male gatekeepers here. Even though, like, if you caught me, like, telling Io Shirai to get better because her thighs got burned up in that explosion match, I would die. That'd be very shameful. But I think male gatekeepers, it's not a good look at all. Who do you have winning?
Yeah, I'm the same. Male gatekeepers can actually, they try and interact with people in real life and ruin their day. And to be fair, like, Welf, the listener on the show, is a thirst responder. And, he's a creep, but I don't hate him for it. So, I have to go with male gatekeepers, even though, like you said, this is a good Final Four matchup. But unfortunately,
Absolutely.
Thirst responders do not move on. So the next matchup is another favorite that's always around, which is attendance truthers against a term I coined. Just so I just want to copyright that. This is a term I made up. I don't want anybody taking credit for this shit. Is Bullet Clubbelos, which is kind of like the Juggalo version of people who are in the Bullet Club. So yeah, attendance truthers is kind of like, it's kind of a very, very cultish kind of subgenre, I guess, where it's people who bother Dave Meltzer. It doesn't have to be Dave Meltzer, but they bother people about the actual attendance of a wrestling event, much like I was doing in the last segment about the All In. I was attendance truthing that. But these are people who still bother Dave Meltzer to this day about the actual real attendance of WrestleMania 3, as if as if it was like Who Killed Kennedy, basically, where it's like maybe if the actual attendance is revealed, it will solve some of the world's problems or something, but it won't. Like it'll just be a blip in the radar. So it's real shameful. It's real shameful. But people who are really into the Bullet Club are more out in the open. At the same time, I don't think that is exactly shameful. I think it's annoying, and I think it's just like a certain type of person who has that real annoying sense of humor and personality is like super into that shit. Just basically like real boring people, like people who, if the Bullet Club wasn't around, would probably wear like Misfits mashup shirts, or it'd be like the Misfits and Rick and Morty on the same shirt. So as much as I hate these people, I don't think they're shameful. So I would go with attendance truthers. But what do you think, Al?
Also a very, very close matchup. I was leaning toward Bullet Clubbelos because I think like the past couple New Japan shows, they're generally the most like shameful fans. They'll say things like, "Oh, you got buried," like out in the public, and I'm like, "Woof, man, why would you say that?" However, a couple weeks ago, someone found like an overhead like aerial photograph of WrestleMania 3, and some guy chimed in and he said that he tried to do a head count to try to confirm the attendance of that show. And he publicly admitted to that. And I was like, that has to be the most shameful thing I've ever seen on the internet. So I know functioning Bullet Club fans, don't get me wrong. They're like, normal adults that do things like attendance truthing, though, that's a hobby like I could never understand. So I think attendance truthers is going to advance. To the semis, I suppose.
Another one of my friends, Joe, who listens to this show, he's a Bullet Club-alo. He bought the Cody Rhodes wine, and he's keeping it closed for a special occasion. Otherwise, he's a normal person, though, so, what are you going to do?
They're just passionate, man. They're just passionate. It's fine.
Next up is another old favorite, which is Oh, wait, no, it's your turn. I'm sorry.
Next up is wannabe industry insiders. These are people that, the way I define this is like there's people on the internet that will like hint that they have the dirt on scoops on the wrestling industry, and they'll do it in these ways where it's like they're teasing their audience for engagement. They'll just be like, "I can't believe Fergal did that," and then like a bunch of people will chime in like, "What are you talking about? What did he do? What's going on?" And it's actually pretty smart because they have a bunch of followers, but it's a really weird practice because I don't really know what the end game is versus blur reality fans. Kind of like in the same genre here of like weird wrestling fans that think they're in the know.
Oh, no. Blurred reality fans are people who can't separate the character from the person. So, for instance, like when all that Paige stuff happened, or when
okay.
So it's just kind of like they think they know, like when Paige was dating Alberto Del Rio, for instance, and like people just assume they know these two people because they're on TV and they play a character, and so they have their opinions on their like personal lives. And so it's people who are like that who believe they know somebody because they watch them on TV.
Well, if you put it like that, blurred reality fans is going to run away with it, dude. Industry insiders is just like, let me get my clout up on wrestling Twitter. It's a weird hobby, but I mean, like we sort of do it. So
I mean, this year I wanted to expand it to also people who really care about the financial numbers of wrestling promotions, because that's what was really pissing me off this year. But I didn't want to like create a separate like category for them, so I just put that in with wannabe industry insiders.
I can see why people do that because they're trying to gauge like the health of a promotion, and I guess that's like news, quote unquote. I think that's less shameful though than people who think they know Becky Lynch because they watch some episodes of Total Divas.
That is true. I was going for wannabe industry insiders, but you may have swayed me on that, I think, because you are right. In my head, I'm just like, oh, these people are just kind of slow, but I guess you're right. That is kind of way worse. So I will side with you on this and go blurred reality for the next round. Okay, next up is used gear buyers, winner in 2016, versus vintage merch sellers, aka Al, aka thrift store jobber, aka a lot of people out there. And just in case anybody thought I put this in there to dig on Al put this in there himself. So he's more shameful. Yeah. Used gear buyers. When this podcast was in its infancy, I don't think either of us could have thought of a worse thing to be than a person who bought used clothing from a wrestler. Unfortunately, 2 years later, it seems there's a lot worse out there. So unfortunately, it's still a horrible, horrible thing, and I definitely 100%. I'm going to push it through to the next round, but it doesn't seem as bad compared to like other things that have happened over the past 2 years. Vintage merch sellers, of course, are just people who resell merch. I think it has gotten a little out of hand, but I don't think it's... I've seen the old thrift store jobber. I'm not going to name names, of course, but he sends me some shit that just makes me shake my head. And I'm just like, man, these people are fucking buffoons. And it just makes me want to quit anything that has to do publicly with wrestling, but I still don't think it's as shameful as people who buy used gear because it's just such a creepy activity to me.
I'm going into this tournament with the mindset of, does this hobby bother anyone else? And I don't really care if someone like spent $1,000 on Peyton Royce's SmackDown worn T-shirt. Doesn't really. It's funny to laugh at, but like at the end of the day, I mean, also I got to think of it like, what if it was me that was outed as buying that $1,000 T-shirt? Versus vintage merch sellers, where it's like, dude, that Buff Bagwell T-shirt is not worth $75. Just because it's old doesn't mean it's worth anything. And I think it's a little shameful that like people are propping up like any old T-shirt just because it's old. Like no one bought that Buff Bagwell T-shirt back when like he was popping, and there's no reason why you should sell that shirt for $80. If people buy it, I guess at the end of the day, like, who am I to say like what's worth what? But I guess if I'm like coming from the perspective of what would I not want to be known for, it's buying ladies' T-shirts that have been worn on TV. So used gear buyers, you're advancing. Next up is Twitter /IG role players versus old guy lovers. Role playing is like pretty self-explanatory. There's people out there that think that they're Io Shirai, and they'll talk like her. They'll call out Kairi Sane, like her real account, and ask her if she wants a rematch from 2015. That's a little weird. Versus old guy lovers. So I've seen like one behavior from old guy lovers, which for me, like, has them advancing pretty convincingly over the role players. It's that when there's like a new gif of like some hot, new, sexy high flyer doing some shit, they'll like tag Jim Cornette and they'll be like, can you get a load of this shit? This is why the business is dead. And you're a loser. Old Guy Lovers advances for me. What do you think, Mike?
Yeah, just to explain that. Old Guy Lovers is basically a blanket term for people who are like really champion Jim Cornette and Vince Russo amongst other old people that have edgy opinions because they're old school. And, you know, as far as I can tell, Jim Cornette is like an act. Like, he's a normal dude who's just doing what he does to gain attention. Vince Russo, I don't think is an act. I think that guy's a real piece of shit. And I think in order to be a fan of Vince Russo, you're probably a person who claims not to be racist, but still collects Nazi memorabilia and just says, no, man, I'm just really into history. You're like one of those people. And like Al pointed out, yeah, like anybody like tags Jim Cornette on Twitter because they're like, oh yeah, like, you know, they're ruining the business. And it's like, dude, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, and the same people are the same people that champion Vince Russo, who was like the king of ruining the business. So it's just like, it makes no sense. It's just a bunch of people who are like really at the real like scum suckers of the wrestling world that are just trying to be like edgy by being into real old antiquated wrestling. And it's just like, that's how sad and shameful wrestling fandom as a whole is, where in order to be edgy, you just have to like the most boring shit. And I don't know, either in like Twitter role players, I've said this in past tournaments, it is a real shameful thing. And so is Instagram role players. But in my mind, and this could be wrong because I'm usually optimistic about this stuff, in my mind, it's always teens. It's not like, there's not like a 29-year-old man behind this. And it could be, I could be wrong, but until I'm proven wrong, I'm going to continue this thought that it's only teens that do this. And teens do a lot of stupid shit that they get away with because they're teens. So I am also going to push Old Guy Lovers through to the next round. Okay, so the second and last matchup, another thing in 2016 that we thought was one of the worst things imaginable, but we were proven wrong, is replica belt collectors versus wrestling weebs, or weeaboos, if you would say. Replica belt collectors is self-explanatory. I think every time we bring this up, though, I'll always get a reply or a text from somebody that's like, hey, I have a replica belt. And as dumb and nerdy as I think that is, it's one thing if you have one or even two. But when you have like 15 and you like know the guys who make them and you use like the wrestling belt collector terms, that's what I mean. That is like a real sad life, because there's no NBA championship ring replica collector. There's no Vince Lombardi trophy replica collector. So you are the only person. Like, it's kind of just, I don't know, man. It's a fake sport. Like, when it comes down to it, it's a fake scripted sport, and you collect like a replica belt for it and parade it around at wrestling shows like you're the pretend champion of this pretend sport. And I don't, it's a real bad behavior, basically. Wrestling weeaboos are basically, as Al like to put it, people on Twitter who are obviously not Japanese, just a regular white person that uses kanji in their like Twitter name and shit like that. And I'll even expand it to just people who are just like super into Japanese wrestling and just like, you know, claim that's the best and maybe try and speak it here and there and blah, blah, blah. I think that's part of every fan culture, like, honestly. Not even just with Japanese people, but as a whole. Like, I'm sure you would fucking go into like K-pop. I'm sure they have their version of this. There's, you know, tons of shit. So as shameful as it is, I still don't think it's as bad as replica belt collectors. But what do you think, Al?
Yeah, they're called Korea boos. Anytime I see any wrestling weebs, though, they always like speak from a perspective like, as an expert of Japan, ... And that drives me fucking nuts every time. And then the next tweet is like, there's struggle sushi. I'm like, shut the fuck up. I'm not trying to hear anything you have to say. They say shit like, Shinsuke phoned it in. He wasn't doing this in New Japan 2012 versus Makabe. And I was like, you know, take it easy. Let's take some deep breaths. However, if someone came over my house and saw that I was like talking shit to some guy because his UWF belt was found to be like bootleg, and I was like roasting him for it online, while in the meanwhile, like, I just have like all kinds of like winged belts from like the 90s, that'd be a little more shameful. I'd be a little more ashamed about that. So I think the collectors is advancing here. Last up is Ringoists versus Twitter reply beggars. I coined the term Ringoists because I thought it was witty. It might be a little too on the nose, but whatever. I think I touched upon it earlier, but it's just people that use like lingo, wrestling lingo in real life. Like they describe every item as a gimmick. They might use heel and face for things that are not wrestling related. What else do they? I'm also going to include people that like will reference like a wrestler's old name to make a point. Like, for example, if they said something like, Kevin Steen isn't being written correctly, and yeah, I said it. Yeah, I said Kevin Steen. Like, you sound like a jerk. And you don't have to do that. You can just call him by his name currently. It's fine. It doesn't make your point any less stronger if you do that. Twitter reply beggars, self-explanatory here. Mike found this screenshot of this dude, and he tagged Kenny Omega, I believe, and Candice LeRae, and he just sounded down and out, and he was like, man, one like would really just cheer me up right now. It would do a lot for me. And I see this a lot. It's kind of sad. You don't have to do that. And really, like, if you're relying on someone to hit that heart to acknowledge your existence, it's pretty shameful. I'm going to go with Twitter reply beggars. Who do you have winning?
This one was super tough for me because there is. Hold on a second. I just wanted to check something. Fuck. Somebody sent that screenshot to me, and I wanted to give him credit, but now I can't find his name. So I'm very sorry, man, that I lost your name there. But anyways, yeah, somebody sent that to me, and oh yeah, Jagger. It was Jagger who I think you had apologized to for not saying that Asuka was married. Anyways, yeah, he sent to clear that up fully. It was a guy who just got divorced, and I'll just read the whole thing. Just fuck this guy. This is a desperation attempt if I ever did try one. Wife just decided to get divorced while we are separated from a deployment. So this is a military man on top of it. A like from one of you two might just put a smile on my face and make my life a little less crappy. Then he tagged Candice LeRae and Kenny Omega. Just really effing sad. That like really made me cringe seeing that screenshot, man. But at the same time, people who use the wrestling lingo in real life, there's nothing. I don't think that like any kind of thing. There's very few things that make me like in actual physically cringe in real life more than when I hear people use wrestling. Like, and it's to an extreme. Like, it's even if it's the slightest thing. Like if it's in a text and somebody uses like a wrestling term, I get like super cringy. Like just anything about it. And I know it's irrational. I know I shouldn't get this worked up over it, but I do. Like I get super. I don't know. I remember when I was in Philadelphia for Next and we were at a cheesesteak place and, like there was a table of wrestling fans sitting near us that were also going NXT and, they were using like wrestling lingo the whole time. And I was just like, I can't breathe. Like this is horrible. So that has more of a physical effect on my life, but the Twitter reply beggars is like, it's a whole new level of, sadness, unfortunately, where I guess using wrestling lingo doesn't really make you technically a shameful person. It makes you a fucking idiot. But I think you could still sort of hold a normal life and say that stuff. But anybody begging a fucking wrestler for a like or a reply probably has some kind of mental illness and is actually very deep in a shame hole. So I guess I will push them through. But I think any other matchup, I would have pushed the other ones through. But you're lucky for now, Ringoist. But I'm not going to take you off this. You're going to be in Shame Cup 2019 too.
I was going to switch my vote to Ringoist, but it looks like the reply beggars like ran away with the poll, so I'm outvoted either way.
Yeah,
okay.
I think that was one I think because it wasn't explained well and no one knew what the word Ringoist meant, but
that's okay.
But yeah, I mean, like, but for real, if this wasn't a podcast, then I don't think there's anything you could do worse to me than fucking start talking in wrestling lingo and not be a wrestler, man. It's just like, again, it's one of those things just like replica belt collecting. It is very unique to this hobby, and it's real shitty.
You want to just advance Ringoist, dude? I feel kind of bad. What if this guy's heart, what if this Kenny Omega heart, like really like made his day? I'm going to go Ringoist, man. You don't need to do it.
Fine.
Yeah.
Ringoist. There we go.
You're advancing.
Hopefully that other guy killed himself.
No! What a shithead, Mike.
Yeah.
We're into the, I guess, quarterfinals, you could say. Yep. Right? Quarter semis? Cool. Airport stalkers versus male gatekeepers. This is tough. Okay. I hate to be devil's advocate here, but like Do you believe that, like, as an entertainer, as someone famous, like, you kind of have this duty to handle like shit like this? Not duty, but like it just kind of comes with the territory to like deal with like very aggressive and very like dedicated quote unquote fans?
I mean, I think as an entertainer, you do, but that doesn't make it less shameful. Like, yeah,
it doesn't make it right. I agree.
Yeah, it's like I wish we had a woman's opinion for this one, because I am not a woman and I don't know what it's like when a male corners you and wants you to answer all his wrestling shit, because I'm sure it really sucks. And I can imagine how much it really sucks, because I see it happen to dudes and it's really shitty. But I still don't, like, personally, I don't think there's anything worse than having a hobby that includes, like, dude, I have a hard time finding my own flights. Like, I can't even imagine looking up somebody else. Like, just having that knowledge and using it for that is it's like to a next level of shame where, I don't know, man, it's like fucking people, I don't even know if this is a real thing, but it's like people who want to get sick by they want to catch like celebrity diseases just to be like, I have that same person's illness inside of me. Like, that is like the only thing I think is worse than being an airport stalker, is being like a bug catcher.
I kind of want advanced male gatekeepers here, though, dude. Like, there are fans out there that use this as an icebreaker to harass women about win-loss records and making sure that only the most hardcore or the most shameful really are fans of this thing. I might go male gatekeepers to dethrone the former champion.
So, so you meet a guy and you think he's a cool guy, and you're having beers, and he tells you,
yes,
hey, at 4 a.m. tonight, I got to go to the airport because Big E Langston is going to be there, and I'd really like to get his autograph as soon as he gets off the plane. Versus you having a beer with a guy, and a woman sits at the bar, and she's wearing a fucking Bullet Club shirt, and he's like, hey man, you ever see fucking Samoa Joe versus Daniel Bryan in ROH? So which one do you really think is worse? Which one would make you run away faster from that guy?
I think it's the airport one.
Okay, so there we go. So,
this is tough. You have airport, right? Winning?
Yeah. I was almost, I mean, after I talked it out, I was on the fence, but after I talked it out, like, yeah, dude, like, it's just, there's no explanation for it. Like, you can't, and it's one of those things, like, unless you meet a like-minded person, there's no way you can, like, it's one thing waiting for a video game at midnight and being one of those people that does that consistently. It's kind of weird behavior, but it's a thing that's like a common thing that people do. But waiting for wrestlers at 3 a.m. is it's on some other shit. Nick,
what would make you more mad though? Let's talk this out. So say you're with like a female friend and you heard some guy and she was wearing a Bullet Club t-shirt and he was like, hey, who are the first members? Versus if he was like casually saying like, well, after the show, I think some of the boys are going to be at O'Hare and I'm hoping to get an autograph. What would make you more mad in your heart?
I don't know. I mean, I still think it's the airport stalkers, unfortunately. It's just, dudes are shitty to women in so many different ways. That is just fucking human nature at this point.
Oh no. Okay.
I'm just saying, like, if it wasn't that, it would be something else. Like, that's fucking, dudes are horrible people. They do it in video games. They do it fucking, I'm sure it's like in anime. They do that shit. I'm sure it's in every single fucking fandom. There is no other, I couldn't say that because people do this to fucking sci-fi nerds do this shit too. And people do it to like celebrities too, I guess. But it's definitely more common with wrestling, and it's somehow accepted to an extent. It's probably happens less. I'm sure there's, X amount of people who go to the airport and stalk people versus thousands of dudes that do this. So I guess you're judging by volume, it would be worse. But I still think overall airport stalkers is worse.
All right, semifinals. Next up is attendance truthers versus blurred reality fans. I really can't like unremember my example of if someone really, really thought they knew Becky Lynch because they saw her on TV and they saw her cut like an impassioned promo, or some guy like making a head count of how many people were at the Pontiac Silverdome. That's just kind of like paying like Warhammer figures at this point, dude. Like, it's just like the weird thing you have. I think Blurred Reality Fans is going to move on to the semis.
Yeah, I wasn't really thinking about Becky Lynch before this, but that reminded me. I don't know if you probably saw this guy. There's a guy who has like multiple, and he's young too. There's this kid who has multiple Becky Lynch tattoos on him, and he just he's from a different country. I can't remember what country he's from, but I think he might be from Brazil or Portugal, not Portugal, Argentina. He's from somewhere else, but either way, and he talks to her and like he tweets her every single reply and everything, and he has like multiple tattoos of her. That's actually fucking scary. And that dude's fucking never talked to her out of character. So yeah, that's I'd have to, even though again, tennis truthers, it's a bad hobby, but it's so small, and those people are long gone anyways. If it wasn't for a tennis truth thing, they'd just be on this list for something else. So I'm gonna go with Blurred Reality Fans too. Next up is used merch buyers versus old guy lovers. This is a tough one. I think I'd have to go with the used gear buyers just because eventually if you met someone, you would have to tell them about this. If you met a woman, God forbid, but I think you could keep the edgy Vince Russo Nazi memorabilia collection on the internet, and you can't really hide that you just bought a woman's underpants from if you're fucking living with somebody else, unfortunately. So I would say just by a hair, I would go used gear buyers. But what do you think, Al?
I think used gear buyers wins too, if only because I unfortunately know how much used gear goes for, at least for Japanese women wrestlers. Yeah. And I don't assume anyone successful collects this. So I just imagine someone doing back-breaking work for 2 months at their local gas station so they can buy these items.
But I don't know if I've ever talked about this on the show before, but I do feel it has to be rich people because it goes so quick when it's on, it's gone in hours, if that. Do you really think poor people are just saving up their money, hoping the next?
Yes.
Okay. Of course. I think it's fucking.
No doubt about it.
I like to just imagine it's men who live in giant mansions and are just I'll just buy another pair of underwear today. But I don't know. I guess not. Maybe it is. I guess that's true. I watched this documentary. I can't remember the name of it, but it was about geeks in Japan. I think it's called something like that too. And it was about one of the kids was saving up all of his money to buy a body pillow. So I guess that makes sense.
Is it my turn to read it off?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Last up for the quarters is replica belt collectors versus Twitter reply beggars. I feel like you can collect stuff and keep it private. I know some vintage collectors that never post shit online, but they have this deep dark shame that makes their living space smell like a thrift store. Whereas Twitter reply beggars, that's public. You don't have to do that. You can feel better in other ways aside from asking your favorite wrestlers to acknowledge them.
No, we didn't. So, it wasn't Twitter reply beggars. We switched it to the.
It was Ringo Wist. We did. Yeah. We did switch it up. Okay. Shit, Ringo Wist then, because you're actually interacting with people and letting people know how much of a dork you are. I think it's still carries over. It's still public behavior that you don't need to perform.
Yeah, it's tough for me because like I said, this is fucking just a battle of the champions for me because I think replica belt collecting is terrible. But at the same time, I'll use a little real life story for you. A couple weeks before I moved to Chicago, me and my girlfriend came here because we were just set up an emergency trip just in case we had to look for a last minute apartment. And so we were just dicking around because we didn't have anything to do. And she has never been to my old new apartment the whole time we dated. And because she has her own apartment and I have roommates, so why would she ever come to my apartment? But so we were in a toy store, a Japanese sort of leaning toy store that has Gundams and shit, and there was a whole wall of hentai figures. And I said seriously to her, I was when we move in together, I was I have a bunch of these, this is what I collect. And she was really? And I was yeah. And then I was no, I'm just fucking with you. And so my point is, I tricked her up until the agreement of moving in that I had these horrible, horrendous dolls, and she would have been stuck with me. So I guess you can hide this replica belt collecting, but I think the first time you open your mouth to a girl and you're oh, he's getting buried next week, Paul's gonna bury him, she knows straight on you're never going to live with each other. So I guess I would have to go with Ringoist too, but I am biased. But since Al also picked it, I don't feel as bad. So Ringoist moves on to the final four.
Oh my goodness, this is heating up. You're up next.
Okay, so this first semifinal is Airport Stalkers versus people can't separate the person from the character. This is actually kind of tough because I do think, I mean, I'm probably giving them way too much credit, but I do think Airport Stalkers know these. Actually, no, because if they knew they were real people, they probably wouldn't do this. This is actually tough because you do have to have some kind of smarts. I mean, that's fucking using the term loosely, but you have to have some kind of intuitiveness or some kind of know-how to want to stalk somebody in an airport. But if you're a person who believes like a pretend character on TV is real, that is a whole other different kind of shame that you can never reverse that. If you're past 14 and you still believe that, chances are you're going to go to your grave believing that stuff, and there's no reversing that. So it's pretty tough, but at the same time, I think that just makes you kind of dumb. I don't think that makes you a terrible, shameful person. It makes you somebody I don't want to talk to, but I still think Airport Stalkers might be worse. But what do you think, Al?
The reason why I have Airport Stalkers going to the finals to defend the championship again is that it's malicious. Whereas the person that thinks that Becky Lynch is like a for real life steampunk, they're just dumb. So like, I don't know if that's by choice, but airport stalking like takes like, yeah, some like wherewithal, some kind of, you're like actively plotting and you're like putting in like this dedicated effort to like annoy somebody. So I think like that's much worse. So airport stalkers,
okay,
you're gonna defend your crown. The semis for this one, how did you have it?
Used gear buyers versus Ringo.
This one's super tough to me. Like, what if you couldn't just help yourself and you just had to use wrestling lingo for everything? Maybe at your job. What if you really did drop, like, you were like doing like some Excel spreadsheet and you're like, I turned chicken shit into chicken salad and you didn't blink once? Whereas having to explain to someone that you have Mayu Iwatani's mask and it's only for like art purposes.
I mean, again, to use wealth as an example, as I much like to do. I don't know if he does own a used mask, but I know he's talking about buying one. I don't know if he actually owns one. But again, when I use these examples, I think of the most extreme. I don't think a person who owns like one or two things, even though like I have the Headhunters ring worn shirt, but that was kind of like bestowed upon me. It wasn't something I sought out. But either way, I don't think I'm that shameful, but maybe I am. Maybe I'm like 3% shameful because of it, but it's still like a whole different world away from owning like a whole fucking lingerie set that Francine used for a photo shoot.
Yeah, I'm obviously like referencing the sexy stuff when we're talking about used gear buyers. Like I'm sure there are people that like will actively try to buy every Ric Flair robe from the NWA era. I get that. Yeesh. How do you have it?
I think. Hold on, I just want to see. Oh, I didn't. Yeah, I guess they didn't. I was gonna see because I put all the winners into a couple polls, but I guess Ringo is going to move on, so I can't rely on. I mean, to be fair, used gear buyers didn't even win that poll. People had Twitter reply beggars worse than used gear buyers, which fucking shocks my mind. But I think it's because it's on Twitter and more people know what that is compared to people who buy used gear. I've seen. Yeah. I don't know. I've seen some fucking real shameful shit when it comes to buying used gear, but at the same time, it's just people who use the wrestling lingo is like, I don't know how you get to like point B if you're introducing yourself and you're talking like that. I wish I knew somebody. Well, I don't really wish I knew them, but I wish I had an example of somebody who does use those terms often, and if they do talk like that to strangers, that would really sway me. At the same time, as much as it personally makes me cringe, I think you can live life and use weird slang and people will overlook it or just think you're an asshole. I don't think you can really explain buying used lingerie to really anybody in the world. Like it's like you can't, man. You can't. There's no. I even like. It's sad that this podcast has like desensitized me so much where I'm just like, yeah, buy like a dude's used underwear. That's fine, whatever. You know, he wears those boots and those fucking pants and you own them. That's weird, but when you're buying like a women wrestler's lingerie and shit, that's there's no turning back from that. So I guess I would have to go with used gear buyers, even though I hope to never meet one of those people. And I unfortunately have to run into people who use wrestling terms in real life all the fucking time.
Ringoists, what a Cinderella run. It's incredible. You went a lot farther than I thought. I'm really happy about this. The finals, the rubber match between airport stalkers and used gear buyers. Did you want to go first?
I mean, I'm trying to think over the past year. I've seen, like I said, I mentioned a few episodes ago, seeing a used gear transaction happen in real life, and that kind of shook me to my core. But at the same time, man, I'm basically in a wrestling group on Facebook. It's a handful of friends, and those dudes are like even deeper into the fucking shit that I'm into, where it's like, look at this asshole. And they're like, they infiltrate those airport stalker groups and just like report back with what they find. And it's all fucking horrible, terrible shit, man. Like, it's shit that makes me want to clench my fist and be violent towards somebody. And, buying used gear is disgusting. And I think you're going to die alone. But I think you go into that hobby knowing you're going to die alone. It's like buying a sex doll. Like, you know, there's no turning back after this. Maybe you're not meant for female companionship in real life and you just dedicate your life to this. But the airport stalkers, they just bother me the most because they don't think they're doing anything wrong. Like, I guess, in order to do something, you can't ever think what you're doing is something wrong. But it's like, it's definitely a gray area when it comes to lawfulness. Like, it should be illegal. And there is unfortunately no laws against buying used underwear. So I'm going to have to go with airport stalkers for the 2-peat.
My thing about used gear buyers is that it's tangible. Like if you're making a move, like say you were a used gear buyer, Mike, you have to carry that around. Mm-hmm. Whereas like, okay, with airport stalking, okay, you have more insight than I do, but I'm also thinking about the people that will stalk just to like get autographs to sell on eBay. And
I don't think that's that's terrible. That's shitty. I think that's just a scumbag move. I don't think it's bad. I don't think it's shameful though. But I do think the people who do it for whatever like joy they get out of it is super shameful.
Airport stalkers, you did it again. If only because I cannot like ever forget the face that Sasha Banks made when she took that photo with that one fan. And that fan was like, look how great we look together. And like he like really like was delusional enough to think that Sasha Banks wanted a photo with them. So 2-peat, yeah. Airport stalkers, you did it. Congratulations, the winner of the 2018 Super Shame Cup Classic.
Yeah, listeners, if there's a 2019 Super Shame Cup, you guys got to start thinking now. You got to think of something to unseat airport stalkers, or it's going to just be a Chicago Bulls like run. So you got to think of something, man. I mean, there's still time. There could be a new kind of fan that fucking mutates between now and next May, but I just can't picture anything inside my body that's worse than doing this.
Up next, the mixtape with, who do we got here? Io Shirai. We got Shingo Takagi. We got CM Punk. We got Jeff Hardy. Yo, Mike, did you listen to the last AIW podcast where Jeff Hardy allegedly like does the gun taunt while taking shots?
Yes.
Oh my God, that is A1. That is like the pinnacle of wrestling podcasting. Incredible. If you haven't already, listen to The Card Is Gonna Change. Great episode. Please stay tuned.
Intention of being offensive to women by calling y'all bitches. My down ass bitches still my queen. Bitches cuts look clean. On that finger next to the finger, you flip that me and it's no in between me and you. Only me and you. Who else gon' put it on you like a
All right, and welcome back to episode 66 of the Virtual Pros podcast. This is our world famous Virtual Pros mixtape. If you're a new listener, we pick a bunch of matches. We just pick 2 each week or each episode. We put them on a mixtape on YouTube. Just search Virtual Pros mixtape on YouTube or search VRTLBROS and subscribe to our YouTube. You can follow around at home and watch these matches too. This week, also, well, behind the curtain, we might have to take a hiatus soon. So I really brought the rice out this week for these notes, because who knows when the next time I'll get to do one of these Virtual Pros mixtape segments is. So the first match of the week is Jeff Hardy versus Tetsuya Naito from Wrestle Kingdom 5 in 2011. I stumbled upon this match. I'm not even going to pretend like I knew this was a thing until I was looking for CM Punk matches and somehow this popped up. But so this happened in Wrestle Kingdom 5 when New Japan wasn't really popping. And Jeff Hardy was a part of the TNA, and he was apparently, I don't know if he was their main champion or he was just some fake champion, but I'll get into that later. Anyways, and again, I didn't know this coming into this, but supposedly Jeff Hardy was pretty drunk going into this match, and this was like the last straw for the TNA New Japan relationship, apparently, or at least one of the straws that broke the camel's back, at least. So, but either way. So this is pretty early on in Naito's career. This is a year or 2 after he was a young lion and came back from his first little excursion. And he's T-shirt Naito still in this. So I don't know if that was just a look he was going for, or he already created the T-shirt Naito gimmick at this point. I'm not really sure. It seemed like he was doing a good job of keeping up. So I don't really know. At the same time, Jeff Hardy is it's tough to say he's visibly inebriated, because he's not like at the level of that Sting match from TNA, but he's definitely not that crisp in this, I guess is a good way to put it. So it's tough. Like, you can't really judge anybody's actual work rate, as you would say, in this match. It's just like a curiosity piece. It's one of those matches where if it happened now, since like Naito Jericho was like one of the biggest fucking things, and Jericho Kenny Omega was a big thing, like if this happened now, this would be fucking huge shit. But since it happened in 2011, when no one cared about New Japan, no one certainly cared about, was it 2011 or? Yeah, 2011. Okay. Or is it 2005? Fuck. Might be 2005. Shit. No, it was Wrestle Kingdom 5 in 2011. Okay. But yeah, no one cared about TNA either. Also, I did some little research after this because I wanted to see exactly when in Naito's career this was. And I learned that this part isn't like, not uncommon knowledge, but he used to be in a tag team with Yujiro Takahashi called No Limit. And it's kind of weird that I don't speak Japanese. So I don't know if they ever explained how Yujiro just became a shitty wrestler and Naito came like the good wrestler, if they've ever explained why that was, but that's kind of weird. But something I did learn was that when they were in CMLL together, they teamed with another guy who I didn't write down his name, another Japanese dude, and their team name was the Yellow Wave, and I found that pretty interesting. So they were just called the Yellow Wave. This is a point in Jeff Hardy's career where his haircut looked like a penis head, and I don't remember this point in his career, but his hair looks exactly like the tip of a penis, and that's a real weird look. I'm glad he didn't keep that long. So this match kind of sucks, and halfway through it, they cut to the announcer's table where Jeff Hardy's championship belt is on the announcer table. I never knew this fucking thing existed. I can't even explain to you, the listener, what this fucking thing looks like, man. If you don't know what the fuck I'm talking about, just Google right now Jeff Hardy TNA championship belt, and it's like it's worse than the Divas butterfly belt. Like, this thing is like, I can't believe this was a fucking thing. I just like I lost it for like 2 minutes. Like, I couldn't focus for 2 minutes just thinking about how stupid this belt looked. So I guess he was kind of defending this belt at this point, again, in this shitty Wrestle Kingdom match. Like I said, this is a whatever match, and Jeff Hardy ends up winning at the end, and like it's so crazy how down in the dumps New Japan was at this time, where they let fucking TNA out of all places just walk all over them and have their wrestlers come in and stomp on them, and have the wrestlers go over there and get stomped, and it was just like this horrible time period in wrestling that no one cared about for rightful reasons. But this is, again, if this happened right now, it'd be a fucking dream match. So it's just kind of really spotlights the sadness and the wonder of wrestling, where it's all about right place, right time. Like, you can be two indie guys fighting 10 years ago and no one would care, and 10 years later it's like the biggest shit ever. It's just weird how that works. The last thing I will say is when Jeff Hardy goes up for the Swanton Bomb, the crowd does react, and I was kind of shocked by that Jeff Hardy even had that kind of electric popularity even in Japan at this time. But they did fucking go off when he did that Swanton Bomb. That was probably the only time like anybody ever gave a shit about this match. But yeah, what did you think, Al?
As an aside here, the TNA Jeff Hardy Championship leather belt, adult size, goes for $230 shipped on eBay. So if you're interested, check it out. It kind of looks like stained glass art of like his face. It's like a battle axe. I don't know. It's crazy. It's purple. I don't know. Both these guys are wearing t-shirts to start this match off, and like I hate when people use the phrase "phone it in" when it comes to like critiquing wrestler performance. Because who's to say? How are you going to judge people's efforts? But yeah, when I see t-shirts, like it doesn't give me any high hopes, like from the get-go. Like at the Tokyo Dome too, man. Like underdressed. Shame on both of them. I'm really digging Naito's Legends of the Hidden Temple knee pads. He looks like a Pete and Pete guy. I can see it. Yeah, so apparently this takes place during Wrestle Kingdom 5, which also has Rob Van Dam versus Toru Yano. If any listeners want to track down this match and upload it onto YouTube for the culture, it'd be great, because I just want to see if there's like a section in the match where they have like a battle of like the thumb pointing. That'd be incredible. I would like make that an IG post immediately. I'd probably like pin it. I'd do whatever I needed to do to make sure that got like 5,000 views. But yeah, this match features like some of my favorite aerial maneuvers. I love the Swanton Bomb. I love the Stardust Press. But this will be a match that I'll forget about by Thursday. It's really cool for like the weird like interpromotional factor, but it's a pretty bland match, as Mike said. So light recommendation, I suppose. Next up is Shingo Takagi versus Shuji Ishikawa, All Japan Pro Wrestling Champion Carnival for 2018. Every so often, I like to peep All Japan and see what they're doing out of respect for what they've done in the past. And last year, I got kind of burned because, like, I don't know, dude. I just don't really see it with, like, Kento Miyahara. Like, I get what he's trying to do. Like, he's, like, this plucky, like, good guy. He's, like, fighting an uphill battle with these giants. But, like, there's, like, a white guy here that does it, like, 10 times better. Daniel Bryan. I don't need to see, like, the fucking diet soda version. Yeah, like, the handful of matches I saw with him and, like, Ishikawa, they're just, like, whatever to me. But, like, this year's, like, Champions Carnival, it got, like, enough buzz to where, like, I feel it's my duty as, like, a pro wrestling podcaster to peep it. And I think I may have finally found a match that, like, really touched me in the heartstrings. For those that don't know, Shingo Takagi, to my understanding, his home promotion is Dragon Gate, where, like, he wrestles, like, very visual, very handsome men. And in a comparison, he looks like a fucking giant. But however, in All Japan, where there's dudes like Shuji Ishikawa and the Bodyguard and Zeus, it kind of like reminds you of that time that like Taz showed up on WWF Raw, and like he tried to go eye to eye with Jerry Lawler, but like he was like up to Jerry Lawler's chest. And like I'm just gonna call this the Taz effect from now on. We're like if one guy goes to like a different promotion and he just looks like so much smaller, let's just call this the Taz effect. I think that's like a very fitting term for it. 2 minutes into this match, and Shuji Ishikawa hits like a Fire Thunder driver onto the outside, and like it's pretty refreshing. Like there's like a match like in this day and age where like they just dismiss like the feeling out process, and they just say like fuck it, let's get violent. I'm with this. Throughout the match, like Ishikawa, he does this sell where like he opens and closes his fists, like presumably to like check if his body's still working, which to me is like such a great sell. And like you're really letting the like crowd know you're working really hard. Where like you don't even know if you're dying or not. You got to check if like your hand still works. It's pretty great. I love the story of this match, where like strongman Takagi is like having to battle uphill against like an even stronger giant in Ishikawa. I thought there was great drama. I thought the crowd was electric. It's a very nice, compact, sub 20-minute match. This is a very strong recommendation for me. What do you think, Mike?
So the first thing this match reminded me of is, well, I think it's All Japan as a whole, not just this match, but I guess All Japan as a whole right now just reminds me of playing the Fire Pro Booker mode or Management of the Ring mode, where you first start out and you don't have a lot of money, and you just have to book these weird matches for the guys you could afford to book. And you can't quite afford like a Kawada or a Vader yet. So you're just like, let me get Shuji Ishikawa and Shingo Takagi to be in a match, and it surprisingly gets like an 85% rating, and you're just like, huh. Well, I wasn't expecting that, but it happened. This is a pretty good match. I'm not like 100% sold on it. I think Shuji Ishikawa still kind of sucks when it comes to like, I won't even say selling. I'll just say defense. Like he's just kind of like, that hand thing is one thing, but like, I mean, I don't like to get down on people's shit like this because I don't really care all that much, but I do think his body is just like so scarred and shitty where he's like, I'm not gonna fucking pretend this hurts, man. Like, so he's kind of like shitty in that respect, but it is like a good dynamic because he does look like a fucking giant compared to Shingo, which is crazy because like Al said, he's like, Shingo's like the bigger guy in Dragon Gate, but he's just like, he looks like he could fit inside Shuji Ishikawa. He's like so small compared to him. It is kind of weird though, like in the beginning, Shingo's still trying to, like he definitely has a Taz effect in the beginning where he is trying to fight like a big man. And it's like, come on, dude, like you're fighting this giant. He does some impressive shit. Like he lifts him up like pretty convincingly and shit like that. So he pulls it off sometimes, but it isn't until like the end where it kind of like kicks into like the underdog versus the big champion ass kicker. There is a person in the front row wearing a white long sleeve shirt that just says All Japan Love on it. And I don't know if it's a real shirt or something that's homemade, but I really like that shirt. I would buy that shirt. I thought the ending was kind of like, I thought the ending of this match was kind of weak, but up until that, like the last sprint, as you would say, this match is pretty great. There's Shingo gives Shuji a fucking lariat from hell, man. Like it's like a running lariat off the ropes, and like you could just fucking hear it. And like I'm surprised he didn't win off that because it was fucking hard as fuck. But yeah, so that's what kind of made the ending kind of weak because they just like, I'm not going to spoil the ending, but it kind of just ends with a move. Like I said, this isn't like, the match itself wasn't like, mind blowing where I want to run out and get the All Japan streaming service. But, if I had time, if I was like a teen still or a young person with not much going on, I would become an All Japan fan again because it just seems like they do have these Fire Pro type matches. Now I know it got canceled, but Akiyama was supposed to fight Survival Tobita, and there's no explanation. No one on the internet can give me an explanation on why this was happening outside of they just fucking announced it. Like, they were like, this is going to happen. And people were like, oh, okay. And for whatever reason, again, no explanation, they canceled it. But it is like they are in this Management of the Ring mode where they're just like, let's see who we can get to be in All Japan, and we're going to put them in matches. And I find that's a real big curiosity to me, even though I don't think it's like a superior form of wrestling, but it's interesting. So I would give it a slight recommendation, I guess. If you had to watch an All Japan match, this is definitely the best one I've seen, but I've seen like 5 in the past 2 years. So okay, my next match is, I wanted to pick a CM Punk match since I moved to Chicago, and I also kind of wanted to pick a CM Punk ROH match because I really did not watch CM Punk in ROH. I'm not even going to pretend like I did. I wasn't really paying attention to ROH when he was there. And unfortunately, all his like real memorable matches that everybody talks about are all like 40 minutes long. And I was like, I'm not going to fucking do that. And this is fortunately the shortest one I can find at like 27 minutes. And versus Jimmy Rave in a steel cage. But this was actually the one that was, this is in Chicago though. So this is Chicago's own CM Punk in Chicago fighting forgotten wrestler Jimmy Rave in 2005 in a steel cage. And like I said, Jimmy Rave kind of fell off the face of the earth. He's like one of those golden era ROH guys, one of the very few that really did not amount to becoming like a fucking legendary wrestler at this point, I guess. And it's kind of strange. I know he showed up to AIW last year a couple times, and I think somebody told me he might have not been in condition to perform one of those times. So I don't think this guy has a good present day life going on. So rest in peace, Jimmy Rave. You did well, but it's strange to look at this dude in 2005 and be like, man, this guy was like on the top of the world in 2005 because he's wearing the goofiest pants I think I've ever seen a wrestler wear in wrestling. They're like white pleather Jenkos, and they fucking have weird symbols on them, and like I just can't believe there was a time where this was an acceptable ring gear. It's just so silly looking. But you know, a lot of people wore it. It wasn't just him. He looks like a silly idiot though. This match is it's like 20 plus minutes, and from what I gather, because I didn't follow ROH, I gather there was some kind of blood feud between Jimmy Rave and CM Punk, and this was the final blow off in a steel cage. And it has that feeling where you could tell these dudes were the first generation of wrestling dudes who got into tape trading and were like, let's have like an old school NWA match. And I think they do that to a T, where like, I think if I wasn't so jaded and, I just didn't know everything about wrestling because I'm such a know-it-all, I would be more impressed by this match. But I could tell they're just kind of like, oh, let's do this spot from this fucking Tully Blanchard match. And I know it was like shit like that. And it's cool to watch. Like, I think this match definitely made me think like I would really like to be in the front row of a steel cage match like this. That's never going to happen because independent wrestling hardly ever does them, and I will never be in the front row of a fucking WWE match, so I'll probably never see that. But I think like seeing this match live would have been cool. On tape, it was cool, but it wasn't like the greatest match I ever saw. I will say they definitely do the double juice where they're both bleeding, but they both don't really bleed enough. And I'm very shocked by two guys who are obviously trying to ape like old school steel cage wrestling. They didn't like really go for it and really like fucking blade the shit out of their faces. So I was kind of let down by that. But there is a point where Jimmy Rave does a Styles Clash, but they call it the Rave Clash. Again, I don't know anything about ROH at this point. Obviously, AJ Styles was in ROH at this point too. So I'm assuming that he like stole the move from AJ Styles. But either way, there was a point where two people were doing the Styles Clash. So there was, there's an alternate reality out there where maybe everybody started doing the Styles Clash. And the Styles Clash became the Canadian Destroyer of this alternate universe. So what do you think is worse, Al? I know you love Canadian Destroyers. Would you rather everybody be doing Canadian Destroyers or everybody doing Styles Clashes? Dude,
Canadian Destroyers all day long. I saw this one variation today. It was by a woman where like she bounced off the ropes and did it. Dude, why do people not like this move? You're literally doing like a video game, defying gravity, defying physics, and like dropping someone on the top of their head. It's incredible. Canadian Destroyers forever, dude. It's so great.
Like I said, it's one of those magic eye things where once you see how it's done, you're just like, this is dumb. But it's crazy because I think the Styles Clash is one of like the most brutal looking moves that you can do. But I think it would be cornier if everybody did it instead of Canadian Destroyer, because it's not one of those moves that I think like if anybody did it now, it'd be like, you fucking biter. And even though people bite all the time, but that's like one of those sacred moves to me where I'm just like, I don't think anybody but AJ Styles could do that. So it's kind of crazy that they just let Jimmy Rave do it at the same time. I think there's probably some backstory behind it where he was like taunting AJ Styles, but I don't fucking know. If any nerd wants to chime in with that backstory, feel free. I don't know if I'm going to care by the end of this podcast, but you can. Anyways, if you're a fan of CM Punk, I would recommend this match. I think I just had my hopes up too high because I always heard about all these great CM Punk ROH matches, but I think the problem with this one is because he's a good guy in this. And I think all of like the legendary CM Punk matches, he's a bad guy. But like I said, they're all fucking 40 minutes long, and I'm not going to watch those. But this was decent. I wasn't like the greatest thing I ever saw, but I didn't mind watching it. What do you think, Al?
I think the only reason why I'm scared of the Styles Clash is because I watched a man get his neck broke because of one. So like, it's always like whenever I see AJ set up for it, I'm like, oh, dude, tuck your head in. And they do. But it's always kind of a scary move to me. Canadian Destroyers, it's just safe fun. I like it.
Yeah, there is a point in the steel cage match where they tease Jimmy Rave doing the Styles Clash off of the top rope, and I was like, oh boy, maybe this is where CM Punk gets injured forever. But luckily, it didn't happen.
Oh, I totally got the panics when they teased it, dude. I was like, man, even if you do tuck your head in, you're going to go to the hospital. Anyway, I guess one of the bullet points of this buildup between Jimmy Rave and CM Punk is that as CM Punk, he got sprayed in the eyes with bug spray They mention it 50 times during the match. And I guess this sounds tougher than like hairspray or like that magic spray Kenny Omega uses. But like, I don't know if this warrants a cage match. Listeners, if you want to email me at vrtlbros64@gmail.com, I'd love to hear the build-up aside from the bug spray. I don't know. Seems a little much. Jade Chung, hello. It's been stated like many times though, but like ROH is like such a blind spot to me. And I kind of stopped watching wrestling during this time period when ROH was pretty hot. So I'm pretty intrigued by this Prince Nana character. Apparently his whole deal is like he's some sort of like dictator from West Ghana. And like he's using like the tax funds from like his political position to hire like these mercenaries to take out his rivals in independent wrestling. I don't know, man. This is like a Dalsum level stretch here, dude. Like, especially like if one of your hired guns is like this man in vinyl pants, like that's all you could afford. I don't know, man. That doesn't make.
Just an aside, I am a little more familiar with Prince Nana, and I will say I always like this character, but he is a guy that is on like Facebook and social media now. That's like, hey, I got to GoFundMe or a Patreon. I don't do anything special. I just want you to give me money. So he's on that level right now.
Wrestling's fake. Wrestling's fake. What a bummer. I think I would have dug this match more if I knew the build up aside from the bug spray. But with that said, like it really hit a lot of notes with me when it comes to like being a good cage match. There was some strangling, there was some blood, there was some comedy, like that part where Prince Nana just drops Jade Chung like a sack of potatoes. That shit had me fucking howling. This is pretty good. Solid recommendation. I don't know if it needed 27 minutes, but it wasn't bad.
Yeah, I guess that's my big hang up with it. It's just like it's 27 minutes, but yeah, I don't know. I'm probably being a little too hard on it just because I had like super high expectations. But yeah, it's worth a watch.
My last pick of the night is Io Shirai versus Meiko Satomura, Sendai Girls, 4/26/2014. Apparently, this is the very first encounter between these two. I've been like slacking on my Joshi campaign on this mixtape, so I hope you're happy, Mike. A friend, emphasis friends, told me this a couple months ago, but I believe this same exact outfit that Io Shirai is wearing was on sale for close to $2,000 on the Japanese sites. So I think it got scooped up. So there you go. Young Kairi Sane, aka Kairi Hojo, she's outside serving as a second in this match. As an aside, recently Kairi posted a video of her in New York, and recent champion carnival winner Naomichi Marufuji on Twitter, he hit her with the open eyes emoji, and I guess I can't be surprised. Like his haircut is like definitely the mark of a single man, and the shooter's gonna shoot, baby. I respect that shit. Fucking eyes emoji all you want, whatever. I posed this question like a couple weeks ago on Twitter, where I think the question was, if you had to ask one Dave Meltzer one burning question you've had your entire life during a Q&A session, what would it be? Aside from asking him why a face Hogan cheated to eliminate a heel Sid in the 1992 Battle Royal, or Royal Rumble, excuse me, in Albany, New York. I think my number one question, and I'm going to get fucking roasted for life about this, it'd be like, is there a special way, or are there special techniques that Japanese wrestlers use to talk to each other inside the ring? Because like, I really don't think I've ever seen like any Japanese wrestler like blatantly call spots out. Like, do they do like fucking like, what is that? Like Morse code taps on each other's shoulders to call spots? Like, I legit have never seen it. Like on that Botchamania shit, like you talk too much. Like, I don't think I've like, it's never happened. I feel like I kind of have this theory that like the production manager like makes it a point to like cut to the back of their heads when they're calling spots. But like, it's really remarkable, like the way they like do this. Like I call this out because like, if this is their first matchup, they're doing like these insanely long chains, like flawlessly. Like, I'll quit the shot of shame now, but like the way they do this and the way they're in sync is like incredible. My last note, I don't think Meiko Satsumura has like slapped a leg in her life because like she is just starching Io in the head and chest kicks. The last 8 minutes of this match is pretty fucking bananas. Aside from like Tana Okada, Naito Omega, AJ Cena, like this to me is like a top 5 like modern pairing when it comes to like pro wrestling. Like they just put on like a crazy match like a couple weeks ago, like 4 years later. I don't know. To me, absolute banger, must watch. What'd you think, Mike?
Yeah, I just want to say my burning question to Dave Meltzer is embarrassing too, because it's been the same question since I was a very young teen. Well, not a very young teen, but a teen nonetheless. And my question would be, does that Japanese spray that they spray on people after matches, does that really work? And if it does, why did they stop using it? Why doesn't everybody use this? They sometimes do it in New Japan still. I think they still do it.
Yeah.
But I always assumed it was fake. But I didn't ever want to ask anybody because they're just going to be like, you fucking idiot. But what do you think, Al? You think that shit was real or what?
I don't think it works as much anymore because I think they're going ice packs again.
Okay. But yeah, I guess it's a cold spray. It's just like spray air, I guess. Anyways, so yeah, this is a great match. This is a 5-star match. I say this every time Al has one of these lady matches where I'm just like, I don't know why people even bother watching American women's wrestling for the most part, because it's one thing when like a New Japan match is better than a WWE match. It's because like people watch WWE for different reasons. They watch WWE for storylines and characters and blah, blah, blah. Women in WWE don't have much of a character. Their character is I'm friends with this person or I'm not friends with this person. There's no characters there. So it's basically just wrestling. So I don't know why anybody, like, once they discover Stardom or Sendai Girls, why they would even fucking ever watch. Like, well, watching is one thing, but being serious about it is just another thing. Like, when they're like, Charlotte's one of the best workers in the universe right now, it's just like, who the fuck? Why would you even think that? Like, it's ridiculous. But, so it's a great match. I also think, I'm pretty sure I independently watched this match when I was, we first started this podcast, and I was like, I guess I should try and watch some really lady wrestling now. So I think I actually saw this match before. But, the only 2 notes I have about the actual match before I get into the heart of the matter is, there's a night when this match starts, there's a nice calming pervert silence in the crowd where just all the perverts go silent before they lock up, and it's real nice. I like that part. Also, my only other note is there anything Toyo Tires doesn't sponsor? Because they love. If there's a sporting event, you could almost guarantee Toyo Tires has some kind of sponsorship, man. Those guys, I don't know, man. They love sponsoring shit. Good for them. Okay, so get to the heart of the matter. First question, Al. Brass tacks. 24-year-old Io versus 28-year-old Io. Who's the most athletic?
Oh my goodness. I think 28. 24, I feel like young Io's trying to figure herself out. 28, she's been on a couple dates, man. 28 all day.
Yeah, I have the same exact answer. I like how she looks when she's 24, but yeah, she's grown into herself in 28 years old. So yes, I will also pick a 28-year-old Io. Second question, a lot more gross. I've noticed over the years of watching this wrestling that Meiko Satomura's outfit, she wears the same outfit. It seems to be at least partially made out of velour, which seems to be not the greatest wrestling material. But at the same time, velour actually captures and smells a lot better than most other materials. So do you think, used gear buying perverts, do you think they take that into consideration where like there's a lot of smells captured in her unitard because it has velour on it? Do you think this would make her?
Dude, this is so funny because Shingo Takagi, his singlet looks to be velour too. And I was like, dude, that can't be easy to wash. So I was wondering if like the insides of those outfits are like, I don't know, breathable mesh or some shit. So they can wash these things like inside out and have it like smell okay afterwards. With that said, I definitely think like fabrics play a part with used gear buying. I don't think vinyl goes for much because I don't think vinyl absorbs the smells as much as a velour would. Well, yeah, I just don't know. I can't keep this up, dude. I just don't know whether or not that outfit is like full velour or not.
It's much like you asked about like Asuka's outfit. She has to have tons of these because you can't really wash velour that much. And
well, hers is like vinyl, right? Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Well, yeah, but
how does she watch it?
Well, yeah, and it's just such a ridiculous. Oscars is such a ridiculous pattern. That's not like they're making millions of those, but yeah, it's just like, and not to get. Well, obviously, I'm trying to get sleazy, but Mako Satomura is a sweaty woman. She really works in there, so I don't know where all those smells are going. They're going somewhere, so there's that to think about. Final question: I've noticed in women's wrestling, American women's wrestling lately, they've switched to. When they wear the tiny pants, they've started wearing these thick tights underneath them. They're usually flesh colored, but they're still tights nonetheless. Do you prefer the bare look or the tights look, Al?
I don't know what you're talking about, Mike.
I'm just wondering. I'm also wondering why they do it. Do you think it's for protection? Do you think it's to keep the perverts who take the screenshot pictures away from maybe taking pictures where maybe the outfit creases in specific places that it looks bad? I don't know, but I've noticed that they've all, even I think Asuka wears them now, which is even a surprise. But yeah, they all wear the tights now. There has to be a PG reason for these tights, I think.
It's definitely the latter, because if you were there with me in the crowd at Stardom 3 years ago, you saw how high-powered those fucking Nikon lenses were. So, yeah, they've caught on to the game, dude. You can't be zooming in that tight anymore. It just keeps it all in, I assume.
Well, good. That was all the questions I had about women's wrestling. Well, very serious questions that I had a burning desire to learn about.
That was episode 66 of That World Champion Sound Virtual Pros podcast. Twitter, Instagram, tell a friend, VRTL Pros. Hit us on SoundCloud. Hit that heart. I like it. The plays have been going up recently. Thank you so much. And if you haven't already, please leave a 5-star review and subscribe on iTunes if you haven't already. Mike alluded to it earlier in this segment, but long short, I have a lot of PTO saved up from work, and it's at this point where I either use it or lose it. And so I think right now it's just a time for me. I'm gonna be out of the country in June, so it's that. And I think for me personally, I don't know how Mike feels. I think I got to recharge the batteries a little bit when it comes to being creative with this show. So it's kind of a twofold reason why I think the summer break is happening. We might crank out one more episode before I bounce, but I'll say this: I'll be back. I'm not going to quit. Virtual Pros forever. Mike, any last words?
Yeah, if you are at AAW this Friday at Logan Square Auditorium, the 25th, I will be there. Say hi. I live in a new city now. I don't have any friends. Don't be weird. Let's be friends. Let's hang out. Let's show each other our replica belts.
Mike, we cracked 2 hours, dude, and I think this is the first time we've ever done this. I'm a little ashamed about it.
The first 9 minutes was me moving, so I think we're going to be right under 2 hours.
Okay. Yeah. Fuck yeah. We'll see you soon, guys. Thanks for listening. Please still support us. We'll be back.